Hello. I don't know how I did it, but somehow I pushed that button and I'm here. I have disappeared. It's Tuesday again. Also, somehow, I don't know how these weeks fly so fast. Um, I've had a lot of important conversations this week with people. I've had a lot of important conversations this week with myself. Um, it's just like getting down to the dirt this week. It's getting down to what's really real and what's really the underlying issue for most of us. And that is that we feel like we're not good enough. And it manifests itself in so many different ways. It's so I posted a reel yesterday about how I wanted to go record something and I didn't warm up properly, and I went to do something big and belty and when I should have done the easier stuff first to continue warming up. And even though I knew better, but for some reason my brain was telling me it's fine, you can handle it, you're good, it won't be a train wreck. And then it kind of was. Like I'm feeling a little bit of tiredness in my voice too at the same time today, even though it was 2 days ago. Hey, welcome. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty in all of these conversations because something in the stars is making this happen this week. Like we are being really real. So I've had a lot of gremlin conversations with my students about all those things that make us feel like we can't do the thing because there's a voice in our head saying, are you sure? Are you sure you're ready for this? Don't you need to practice more? Don't you need to be a better singer already? There's all of these voices hanging out all the time. And depends on where your voices are leaning. Some people are saying you're doing too much. And some people's gremlins are saying you're not doing enough. And some people's are saying both of those at the same time. And then there's a battle going on in your mind all the time. That's me, if you didn't know. Because I have two very strong sides of myself: the perfectionist side that doesn't want to do anything until it's absolutely perfect. And then the very, very driven generator side of myself that's like, just freaking do more stuff. Like you have all this desire inside, you got to get it out, you got to do something. You're not doing enough. And for me, it's very obviously my mom's and my dad's super egos. Now it's obvious. It took a long time for me to see that. Um, but wherever I am, if I'm in an anxious state, if my nervous system is heightened, if I've had a conflict come up lately, either with my partner or somebody else in the world, I'm more often going to just default into believing that gremlin voice and going, oh crap, I have to do more. I can't let this out of my sight until it's perfect, until it's better. Or I'm gonna do stuff when it's not ready yet. Send stuff out when it's not ready and I regret it. So there's all of this in play when you're singing, and all of these gremlin voices, for whatever side of the you're not good enough, you're too much spectrum they're on, are always going to be messing with your voice subconsciously most of the time, honestly. But it makes you make choices based on those subconscious thoughts and feelings, even though you have practiced it a certain way, even though you know that you can do it, you've done it a bunch of times. But when you're in a nervous situation, when you're having an anxious day, when you're having a gremlin day, it's not meant to work that way every time, because we're not machines, we're human beings. And so when you're having an anxious day like I am today, everything feels wrong. You're second guessing every single note you sing. You're second guessing every single interaction you have with people. You're second guessing every single person in the audience. And it feels like there's no way out, you know? But as we know, there are tools that we can use to start to help ourselves, our body and our mind and our physical self feel a little better. And even just doing that helped. I was like in my anxiety self. So if you want to do this with me, if you're watching back on the replay, you're welcome to. Just put your hands on your chest. Maybe put one hand on your belly. If that doesn't feel enough, you can grab a hold of your arms and give yourself a squeeze. If this is not enough, you can, give yourself an even tighter hug. Whatever feels like you need it. Like sometimes holding my face feels really nice. Sometimes holding my legs feels really nice. It depends on the day, how I'm feeling. But wherever you are, I'm going to do this, the Ruby Rose one. Wherever you are, I want you to feel into your body. Get out of your mind for a second. Feel into where your hands are touching your shoulders. Feel where your feet are touching the ground. Feel where your butt is touching a chair. Feel where your breath is coming in and out of your nose or your mouth. Just notice that in this moment, you are actually physically safe. And if you want to, you can look around, notice 5 actual things around you. Notice a couple things that you hear. Notice a couple of things on the inside of your body. Like, is your stomach full because you just had lunch? Do you have a little phlegm in the back of your throat? What's happening? Are you actually safe in this moment? I'm really just doing this because I need it today. But there's been a lot of conversation around safety. And I think that's one of the most important conversations to have as an artist. Because when you don't feel safe, you don't want to make art. You don't want to be even more vulnerable when you already feel like the world is looking in on your insides, right? So if you need to shut yourself down, close the phone, close the computer, do it. If you need to just sit here and give yourself a big old hug with me for another couple minutes, do that. If you're forcing yourself to make art, if you're forcing yourself to try and sing those big belty notes, if you're forcing yourself to sound like Mariah Carey, there's a disconnect there. Forcing anything when you're singing is going to lead to struggle and probably pain and most likely injury. So what happened to me the other day is I had warmed up a teeny little bit and I went into my little vocal booth back there. It's just a bunch of blankets. And I needed to do doubles of a chorus, which happens to be a pretty big, epic, trailery, belty song. And I was like, okay, I'll just do this because, I don't know, I feel like I will not have any energy left. I won't have any vocal dollars left, so I better do it now. But all of my training and all of my teachers would say, no, you have warmed up for 2 seconds. You need to warm up even more. And you should, if you really need to get recording done, you should do the background vocals first because they will help you warm up. It's not in your big belty range, which is the most pressure you can have on your voice. The most that these muscles are working when you're in that engagement, you're in this forward, belty, bright, mixy place, which is why I tell people when you're working on your mix, always warm up very much before you practice, because when you end up falling out of the mix into your belt, that's when you can injure yourself. And I'm feeling the effects today because I didn't listen to my training. I was in deficit mode, right? I was like, I don't know how long I'll be able to sing today, so I'm just going to do this first, which is not a great place to come at it from, because of course your voice needs time to ease in, right? Just like any muscle. Like, you're not going to just go outside and start sprinting all of a sudden. You're going to walk and warm up and stretch a little bit first, right? Same thing with your voice. It's just, we don't have as solid a handle on these muscles as we do our leg muscles, for example. We don't know a lot what's happening with this, but we do know that if you're trying to yell basically for a while, then you're gonna work these muscles harder, and if you haven't warmed up, they're not gonna be ready. And I also haven't been bouncing in a while, so I should have known. And so I automatically brought myself out of a place of safety because I wasn't listening to my adult self. I was like, I just want to get this done because I'm already behind the deadline. And it didn't go well. I think I recorded something that's pretty good, but today and yesterday, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Even when I'm talking, I'm really trying to sit up and talk from my abs, because that helps a whole lot. Take it out of here, out of these vocal muscles. The other thing we were talking about around safety this week is safety to just make noise in general. I was talking with one of my groups, which on that day was all female presenting people. It really takes a lot sometimes for us to get into a place where it feels okay and safe for us to be loud, especially up here in our head voice and our high head voice. It feels unsafe for us to be high and loud because we often associate that with shrill or whiny or complainy or just too much. Because I don't know, as kids, we started to ask for what we needed, and we were told, don't whine and don't complain. It's not ladylike. I don't know why this happens to females more than males, but it's just, I don't know. It's how our society is. And let me know in the comments if you have experienced this feeling. Like, if you're up here, you can be in the Disney Princess light fluffy mode. And then as soon as you start to press forward and get bright and a little nasal, we close down, some of us, right? Especially if you're a freezer or a flighter. We go, and then we start pushing or closing ourselves off subconsciously. Or we just don't know how to get into that space. And my favorite way to get people into that space is to be a toddler, to be a whiny toddler. Go figure, right? We feel like we're being too whiny, so the best way is to be whiny, play this character to get yourself out of your judgmental gremlin mind so that you can hang out in this part of your voice with less issue. So what I would love, if you are one of these people that feels like when you go high, you cut yourself off, or you can't be loud, or you can't have that assertive sound that you want to up there, or when you're trying to be powerful, you just default back into your chest voice, so that when you're trying to sing like, it goes, right? You're trying to sing too high in your chest voice when you should be just leaning into this mix, right? So the best way to do it is to just be that toddler. So my favorite way to do it is, I don't wanna, and lean into that nasal feeling. Right? It feels loud. It feels obnoxious. All of a sudden, my brain went to, oh God, I wonder what my husband's thinking about what I'm doing right now. So if yours did too, you're not alone, right? But he knows that I make weird noises all day, so it really doesn't matter. So try it one more time. Come at it from the body. Give yourself the assurance that you are indeed physically safe right now. You are the adult. You are in charge. Tell yourself, I got you, self. Okay, and we're going to make a little loud noise, and nobody is going to care. It's going to be fine. And if they do care, it's too late now, right? Okay, ready? I don't wanna. Nice and loud. obnoxious. Ah! And you can do like a baby cry too. Ah! That kind of a thing. That's that space that we need. And it feels so scary, especially today. I'm having an anxious day. It feels even more scary to do that because I don't want to be looked at as needy or obnoxious or mean or any of those negative adjectives that women get put on themselves all the time. So my body is like trying to tighten up and not let that sound happen. And that's a real, actual like issue that most people who come to me have, right? If they're trying to be louder or extend their range a little bit and then be louder and sing these big belty songs, these big pop belty songs, we get into this place of fear. Like if I don't sound like Pink, then I just can't sing like that. It's out of my range, right? But we can make it sound like a toddler all day long, right? We know what that's like. We know if you've ever lived with a toddler, you can hear it in your head, right? Meow, that sound. You can imitate that. And if you can imitate that, you can make that sound when you're singing. It's just the mental block between those two is that we feel unsafe. And it's not a failing on your part. It doesn't make you a worse singer. It just means that you feel unsafe. And so we have to find a way to get ourselves safe. If today's not the day, if you're having an anxious day too, maybe wait till tomorrow. Bookmark this, save it, watch tomorrow. See how you feel. But it really makes a difference when you can remind yourself, body, we are safe. Nobody is coming after me for making noise. I am allowed to make noise in my own home, in my own car. If people have a problem with it, they can come talk to me and I will explain, right? Your vocal growth needs to be your priority. And if you are a people pleaser like me, a recovering people pleaser, this is hard shit. It's really hard. But this is how we learn to be less affected by the opinions of others, to be less actually dysregulated by the opinions of others, is to put yourself first. Remind yourself that you are safe, that your desires have weight and meaning and they matter. And just because somebody else might be bothered doesn't mean that you need to be quieter. And I know that is easier said than done. But the more you can start taking little teeny steps like this, like making some weird noises in your room alone and reminding your body that you are actually safe when you did that, like now my body has evidence. Oh, I feel like I could do it again because I did that. I was super loud. Nobody came and knocked on my door. I'm alive. I lived through that. And I can continue on. I can make even more weird noises. And then I gave myself a hug and I felt even better. Whatever works for you. Other options that I have seen people do, grab your wrists because there's a lot of feeling in your wrists. Like if you grab hold of your wrist, like you feel like you're held, like you're solid. Any kind of muscle engagement, like strong muscle engagement. If you're a fighter, do it like plank, lunges, stuff like that. It gets the hormones moving in your body is what I'm learning. I learned a lot of this from Ruby Rose from Muscle Music. So go follow her. It's Muscle Music _. You can feel my voice starting to get a little tired, so I'm going to end soon. But mostly, I just want you to notice when that safety mechanism kicks in. Sometimes it's your gremlin, and that's a different thing. So we have to get really good at discerning, okay, is this just the stupid voices in my head that I'm choosing to believe when I don't need to? I can separate? Can I kick them out into oblivion? Can I kick them like a soccer ball? Or am I feeling actually bodily dysregulated? And how can I go in through the body and remind myself that I am safe? That I don't need to worry about my physical safety. that I can make noise and that I will be okay. And this takes practice. This takes little bits of trying to step one toe outside your comfort zone and then maybe bringing it back in. And then you have evidence. Okay, I stuck my toe out. I'm okay. Let's stick 2 toes out. I don't know what that means, but and then you're okay, right? Give yourself safety, environmental safety. Stick 3 toes out. And this takes time. It takes a long time. Like on a day like this, a couple years ago, I would have been just in bed freaking out, numbing myself with movies and ice cream. But I'm not doing that today. I'm pressing record buttons to be here because I made a commitment to myself and to you guys. So this is, I don't know, all I'm saying is I've done a couple years of this work now, and this is how it pays off. It's still there. The anxiety is there because it's a part of me and it never goes away. It's part of how my brain works. It's part of how I was brought up from ages 0 to 6. But it's not derailing my whole life anymore. And that's what I want for you as a singer. Even if the rest of your life, that's yours for you to deal with your therapist. But as a singer, I want to see you be able to remind yourself that sharing your voice is not a dangerous thing. It is not putting yourself in danger to be loud and to use your voice and to share your voice and to say what you need and to speak up. And this is why I've had multiple students go through a couple months of this work and then start leaving jobs that weren't right for them, leaving relationships that weren't right for them, speaking up more at work, they get a raise or a promotion. This is the direct side effect of this nervous system work and your mental work, right? Because when you can separate from your gremlin, when it's time to do that, and when you can learn how to take care of yourself, put yourself first, it's not selfish, it's necessary for your survival. When you learn how to do those 2 sides of this work as an artist, where the stakes are less sometimes we build up our nervous system enough that we can finally say, hey, can I have that raise that I've been wanting for 3 years and I never asked for, right? So it all expands. It expands you, it expands what you're capable of, makes you more resilient. It makes you just speak up for yourself more often, because you're speaking up for yourself in the fact that you are putting yourself and your art more into the world. And over time, it becomes less scary. And then over time, you can sing all you want in front of people and it becomes not a thing anymore. Like I can press this record button and it doesn't completely stop my brain from working. Although, who knows? I don't know if you understand any of this. And then over time, seeps out into the rest of your life. And you can start to see, oh, I just had that hard conversation and it didn't derail me. It wasn't as completely dysregulating as it used to be. That's cool. That's very exciting. So when you give yourself the safety that you need and you do this work in little pieces, coming at it from a place of, I know what I need and I'm not going to force myself into a situation that is not safe for me to be in. Like I didn't a couple days ago. Hey, Tom. Doing things in the right order can be helpful for that, as I learned. Doing things with a coach can be really helpful. Like sometimes I had a student today who was learning a song for the second time, and we broke it down into little pieces. And all of a sudden he was able to visualize how this part of the song went when he was really struggling doing it on his own. So just having a person to work with, another singer, doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be a coach, another singer to learn a piece of music with. It can be really helpful. It can make you feel more safe. If you are one of those people that like really doesn't like working with other people and working by yourself is what you need, do that. Take as much time as you need to learn a piece. Just don't try and overwhelm yourself with learning the whole thing at one time, because that's not giving yourself an environment of safety to learn from, to feel good about sharing your art from, because you're just throwing too much at your brain, you know? So that's what this whole chat comes down to, is when you're trying to grow, when you're trying to share more of your art, more of your voice, whatever that looks like to you. You don't have to be on the same track as me. You don't have to be recording music all the time. But when you are growing, it takes a lot of vulnerability as an artist. And I'm sure you know that if you're here. But nobody expects you to be vulnerable and have your heart open for all to see all the time. We have to build up strength over time in order to get to a place where you can prepare yourself, you can take care of your body, you can take care of your mind, you can separate from those gremlin voices, give yourself some gremlin free time, and then you can step onto stage and not feel like you are under attack over time. Sometimes it might anyway, even if you have been doing this work, because some shows are bigger and scarier than others, and that's normal. So what I want to say is just give yourself what you need. Give yourself more than you need sometimes, because sometimes as artists, we really push ourselves over the top. We like force ourselves to be too vulnerable. Or on the other spectrum, if you're a perfectionist like me, we hold everything back until it's perfect. And then we're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm still ready to show you, even though I feel like it's pretty good. It may not be perfect. I may need to take another 3 classes to get better at this thing. So there's 2 sides of this. Either way, we need to work on our safety. So we're taking care of ourselves, building that imperfection muscle if you're a perfectionist, learning to share things even though they're not perfect. That is part of this nervous system training as well, depending on where you're coming at it from. You know, so you may be a person who is scared to share stuff. If it's not perfect, you may be a person that shares too much and then retreats and burns out. It's really important to know what your defaults are, which is why I talk about fight, flight, freeze, fawn quite a bit. That's why I talk about the nervous system so much. It's really important to know what your body's default action is if it feels attacked, because that's what's going to happen if you show up unready and in a place of lack of safety, and you go and try and perform, and you're going to, be overthinking yourself. You're going to be in gremlin mode. You're going to be messing up all over the place because you're forcing yourself into this place that you are not feeling safe to be in. Okay, that's enough of that. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the replay, I appreciate you being here. This stuff is really important to me, and I think it should be for all artists, especially singers, because we have so much that we put on ourselves. At least I do. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be an artist all the time, to be a perfect artist, to be someone who is always opening up their heart and showing the world. But we're not meant to do that. Human beings are not machines that can just make art all the time. We're not ChatGPT. We're not an AI art making machine. We need rest, and we need to close up our heart, and we need vulnerability from a place of safety. Because if you're just opening up your heart, that's not a place that anybody wants to look at if you are feeling unsafe, right? That's just asking for help and being, asking everybody else to take care of you. And there's something to be said for asking for help. I'm not saying don't ask for help, but not in an art setting. Like you don't go onto stage and ask your audience to give you therapy, right? That's not what we're doing. Nobody wants to be in that kind of audience. Like you're sitting in the audience going, you're supposed to be the leader here. You're supposed to entertain me, So just take care of yourself as much as you can. Ask for help behind the scenes. And then build yourself up, build up your environment of safety, bodily and mentally. And then open yourself up a little bit at a time. Come back in. Take a rest, recover, recuperate. Open up a little more. Take another little step outside the comfort zone. And then over time, the nervous system will be like, oh, stage, cool, love it, been there, done that, let's do it. I love it. I love the adrenaline, right? You're never going to feel like nothing when you're going out on stage. I don't think that's a real thing, unless you're like a sociopath. But there's a better way to train yourself to be more resilient, to get to that place of less stage fright, of less dysregulation. Hopefully this helps. Any questions you have, let me know. Put them in the chat. I'm here for you. Yeah, it's a very important thing. I think all artists should think about this, and unfortunately it's not covered hardly ever by actual like university classes or a lot of teachers. Tom says there was a heckler in the audience at a party. It was easier to battle that person and perform better than when my own gremlins make me nervous. What does that say about me? That's so interesting. Yeah, I can see how that would kind of give you an actual character to give to the voices that your gremlins usually say. You know, it's interesting we put so much weight on our own voices in our head, right? Because they usually came from authority figures that we respected, our parents, our teachers, or whoever. But when it's in a person in the audience, it's like, oh, that person's obviously not me, so I obviously don't have to listen to them. But when it's in your own head, you're like, oh, is that true? Do I need to listen to that? Do I need to go do 500 hours more work before I let this out of myself? It's very interesting. That's a very interesting thought. Cool. Well, that's all I have to say today. And I'm going to go rest my voice more. I was really hoping to record more today, but I don't think it's going to happen based on how my voice feels right now. That's okay. I'm giving myself what I need. From a place of safety, I'm not going to force myself. I'm going to take my own advice. I love you all. Thank you for being here. If you're watching this as a recording, please let me know if you have any experiences like this. If you are a perfectionist, if you are a holder back, or if you are a do too much, or what your gremlin says, let me know. I'm curious to see where that balance lies. Also, if you've been here for a while, thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for sharing my work with people. If you know other singers who you think would enjoy the way I talk about singing, which is different, I know. Not just giving you random technical exercises to do all the time, because there's many other people you can go to for a whole lot of that. I have plenty of that in my community, in my programs, but this is what I choose to share here because I think it's the most necessary. So please share, and thank you very much. If you are new here, if somebody brought you here, if somebody shared my stuff with you, thank you for being here. Welcome. And I have a couple things for you up in my bio. I have warm-ups for you for free. You can sign up for that. I also have a little mini ebook that I have. It's called 3 Magic Tricks to Sing Better in Seconds. And it's not an exaggeration, but it's not what you'd expect either. Excuse me. And yeah, go check those out. If you have been here for a while and you're interested in working with me, if you're resonating with any of this and you want to do some actual one-on-one coaching, I have a couple of different ways to do that. I have private coaching, 3-month packages. And I also have a 6-month group program, which is where we do all this nervous system work together in front of people, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Like if you want to practice getting better performing, there's no amount of private sessions that will help you at that, right? We can do technique work and talk about gremlins all day long, but actually putting your foot to the pavement in a group program, there's nothing like it. So it's called Vocal Magic, and I will be opening the doors in July. So like less than a month from now. So if you're curious about that, let me know. It looks different than when I started a couple years ago. So happy to meet with you. Just schedule a trial session. That's in there too. I can tell you all about it, and I could put you on the wait list, and you can be the first one in the doors when I open the doors in July. So thank you, and appreciate all of you, and thanks for letting me be here in this less than 100% state. I don't know if I'm ever in 100% state, but I am here, and I appreciate you listening. That's what I have to say. Okay, goodbye.